Hello, everybody, and welcome to Racing to Real Estate. I'm John Roberts. This is Josh Tucker. This is kind of our championship edition. We crowned a champion in all three of NASCAR's top series, and also we're going to talk about how to be a champion when it comes to staging your home and getting it ready to sell. Because, Josh, this question for you came up this weekend, didn't it?
It did, yeah. So I was, I guess before we jump into that, just real quickly, I want to thank our sponsor, Duckworths.
I always skip the housekeeping stuff.
John
Sorry about that. I just like to get right into it, but this is important.
And nothing wrong with that. But
this is important stuff.
Yeah, I mean we're coming down close to the end of season 1 here.
Yep.
So this is our 11th episode. We're doing 12 episodes in this season. Duckworth's been a part of it the whole season, which has been great. Duckworths, we are thankful for your support of our little show here during season 1. So definitely got to thank them. Obviously, thank Anchor Real Estate for letting us use the conference room as our studio.
And we're kind of thanking ourselves, but don't tell anybody.
Yeah, that's okay.
'Cause we're Anchor.
We
get to thank Anchor.
That's right. and we use the conference room here. So in bright, sunny, and kind of chilly Mooresville, North Carolina this morning.
It is beautiful, though.
It is. And about mid-60s, I think, over the weekend, early.
Leaves are turning.
Low 60s. So beautiful fall weather. Like you said, the leaves are turning. So good weekend. All of our viewers, please follow us along with us on social media. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can comment. You can send us direct messages on any of those platforms. You can email us at racing2realestate@gmail.com. John, we have a lot of viewer questions again slated for today,
which is what we like. That's the fun stuff.
Yeah, and after the show picks up steam here, it's fun. Now that we're 11 episodes in, we start getting more and more engagement, more and more of these viewers reaching out and asking us questions. So today we got questions about real estate, about racing, and a couple just oddballs, which are always cool to talk about here. So So
before I ruin the flow, and put the cart before the horse.
Right.
We're just talking about how really, before you go to sell your home, you got to make sure your price is right. You got to make sure it's the right time to sell. But one thing though, Josh, you got to make it showable.
You do, yeah. So that kind of came up over the weekend, and obviously without mentioning any names, without calling the house out specifically. Showing properties here in Mooresville over the weekend on Saturday. And, there's one particular house that before we got there, my buyer clients were asking, why do you think this house has been on the market nearly 200 days? And, looking through the comps in this particular neighborhood, most of them were selling in 30 days or less, and this particular one had been on the market for a while. And there's obviously different things that can make that happen. And I told them before we got there, I said, I don't really know. Let's drive through the neighborhood. Let's, see if we can pinpoint why this particular house has taken so long to sell. It didn't appear to be overpriced compared to all the other comps that had closed. So we get there, and quickly I realized, in my opinion, why it has taken a while to sell. The house just does not show great, John.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you go in, there's dirty clothes on the floor in the closets. The beds aren't made. The toilet seats are up. And it's like, man, if you really are trying to sell your home and you're motivated to sell it, as it says in the remarks on
motivated
the MLS
seller,
sheet, motivated seller.
Just how motivated are you?
Right. Why not put a little bit of extra effort in to making sure the home presents well? Because it makes a big difference. First impressions are everything. And sometimes once somebody's seen it one time, getting them to come back is very difficult.
Is very difficult. And also, it's safe to say, over the years, we've shown hundreds of homes in this area. And it's pretty bad, not to say there's rules, but just the concepts of a showable home are pretty simple to begin with. It's just got to be clean. Any less clutter you can have is going to make it more showable. And the less personal effects you have, there's just something mentally about going into a house that has somebody else's personal effects all over there. Trophies, certificates, diplomas, degrees, family pictures and everything. Just take them down. And sometimes people will joke with us, Josh, when we tell them that, because we're pretty open about it. We're pretty, look, you got to clean this up if you want to sell it. Or look, you got to declutter if you want to sell it. We're pretty brutally honest about it because we want to sell the dang thing. But at the same time, though, people have to understand that that's really going to be what helps them out.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And I think a lot of that goes back to, the fault of the listing agent,
Yeah.
not setting proper expectations with the seller. You know, I think that at Anchor Real Estate, you know, not just me, but you and Tracy, all of our agents are.
Yeah, we're going to be honest with you.
We're going to be honest, and we're
about
very
it.
particular. And look, we've turned listings down.
Yeah.
You know, that either we can't come to the right price, or the sellers aren't willing or able to make the changes that we feel needs to be made to get it sold. But those things are very important. Not just, they don't sometimes just make a home or a seller look bad. They can make a real estate agent look bad too. If
Exactly.
you have a house on the market that long without selling, people start to question your ability.
Yeah.
You know, so I think those things are important. That's one thing that we do. It's an early step in our listing process, is meeting with the sellers at their home.
Yeah.
And, you know, giving some ideas, some thoughts. You got to do it tactfully, right?
Sure.
You don't want to, everybody's taste is a little different. You know, so you don't want to walk into a home and, you know, insult the seller or make them feel like, gosh, you know, my home must look terrible in the eyes of others, because that's not always the case. But
yeah, and also people say, hey, look, man, I still live here. And we understand that. We get that. You still got to live there. But at the same time, though, a little bit of effort on that seller's part to keep it clean. And, you know, it's the old term, it's a real estate cliche of curb appeal. When you drive up, you just got to make sure the front of the house looks good. I mean, a little bit of investment, a little bit of cleaning, knocking some cobwebs down, raking some leaves, very simple
washing.
things.
Yeah.
Power washing.
Yeah.
Great thing to do to give a house a new face. And one time, another real estate agent had given us a tip, and I've since given it to many people. If you have, like there was one case where we had people that they were smokers, nothing against that, but the house smelled like smoke when people came in. And so they did the best they could. They got an air filtration system, but that was their lifestyle. So, older real estate agent who I love to death, unfortunately he's not with us anymore, but he had told me at times, said, man, take decorative bowls so they don't look weird. Take a decorative bowl, fill it up with charcoal, because charcoal has a natural odor absorption effect. And so therefore, if you have these charcoal hunks in these decorative bowls set around the house, it really does help with some pet odor or some smoke odor. And that's just one little trick that you can use. And what's a bag of charcoal? A couple bucks?
Yeah.
Get the bowls out there. It doesn't make anything look cluttered or ugly or anything, and it really helps.
Yeah. There's a lot of little tips or tricks that we tell clients. Yeah, that's a great one for odors. I always tell clients, especially this time of year, really any time if they can, before we list, take window screens out.
Yep.
Homes look so much better. They show so much better when the window screens are out. So take them out, store them in the garage. Clean the windows.
Yeah, clean the windows is huge, because we noticed that just the other day in my home. I just noticed we had just over the years a lot of construction going on, and the windows on the outside had gotten. I finally looked up and I said, man, those windows look like crap. I got out there and I squeegeed them off, and so now more light is coming in. It's just it was really easy. It took a half hour, and it made a huge effect on the feeling of the house.
Yeah. So a lot of little things. Now, John, what's your opinion? Vacant house versus so what if the sellers have already moved out? What if you go to meet the sellers, they want you to list and sell their home for them, and they've already moved out, they've already closed on their new home, they've moved into it, and their house is sitting vacant? What's your approach there?
To stage or not to stage? That is the question.
Always the question,
and that's a huge question. But one thing for sure is, and Josh actually told me this a long time ago, and it's correct. Don't ever halfway stage.
Yeah.
You don't want to come into a house if it's either going to be vacant or it's going to be fully staged.
Right.
And I believe firmly that staging an empty house helps, because stagers have an eye for improving a home. We work with a couple different staging companies over the years. They have an eye for improving the home and improving the feeling when you walk into it. Now, if that's not your thing, or if you don't want to spend the money on it, then just make sure you're totally vacant, totally clean, because you can also walk into a vacant house and then all of a sudden every ding and nick on the wall shows.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's it can go either way. I recommend staging if possible, but I think if there's people that come through there, I personally like to look at a vacant house, but that's not everybody.
Yeah, some people don't have that vision.
Yeah, they don't have the vision when you see your things in there, but if it's tastefully staged, sometimes that makes a big difference. And there's one client, It was actually probably over the years one of the very few times we got to an end of a contract and couldn't sell a home. And it was another one of those mysteries where we said, okay, this is a pretty house, well-priced, good neighborhood. There's some new construction in the neighborhood that was a little bit of a challenge to us. But when we first went in there, we told the fella he had all his sports memorabilia and stuff from his sports teams all over the wall. And, nothing personal to us males. It was just a very male house, It was just decorated in trophies and sports and everything. We said, look, you got a beautiful house here. Too much personal stuff, too much clutter. Can you please take that out for us? No, I don't want to. I don't think that's right. I don't think it's going to offend anybody. I think we can sell it the way it is. Okay, your house, your call. We'll try to market it. Well, we got to the end of the contract, didn't sell it. The other company that took over talked him into staging. Talked him into decluttering.
Well, after he'd been through 6 months of not being able to sell it, he probably heard the same thing from a different agent and said, well, maybe they're right.
Maybe they're right. And then they sold the dang thing in 2 weeks as soon as it was staged. So you never know 100%. But I would say, again, your basic answer to the question, if you can stage a vacant house, stage it. It will help. But if not, make sure it's clean, open. And then you're probably going to have to repaint.
And I agree. And, it does cost a good bit of money to stage a home. So, and you nailed it right on the head. That's my opinion, too, that if you are going to do it, you need to be all in. At least all the main living areas, the master bedroom, the master bathroom, the kitchen, the family room, office, if there is one. All of those areas need to be fully staged if you're going to do it. And this can be thousands of dollars of an investment. So if you can afford to do it and do it right, I think it's an investment that can pay off. If you can't, rather than just spending $1,000 or $800 and staging one room or putting a couch with nothing else in a family room,
that's not going to help.
I say take that money, have the house completely vacant, and do anything you need to do to make it show very well.
Wash carpets, maybe a little painting.
A little painting if you can. Mix in walls, dry erase or dry erase the walls, anything like that you can do. Because one thing that you will find is when homes are vacant, little things like that stand out very quickly because people don't have nowhere else to focus their eyes. So normally when they're walking through, they're looking at beds and couches and TVs and while they're looking at the other things. But if the home's vacant, they can't do that. So a real quick plug, you mentioned a couple of staging companies we've worked with. Just want to mention their names. We have used them both. They both do really good work for us. So Nanette Robinson owns Lake Norman Home Staging and Design. She's right here in the Lake Norman area.
Very good.
She is very good. We have used her to stage multiple higher-end homes, a lot of lake properties. And then another one, Anchor Staging Co., Anchor Staging Company. I was actually a part of that company in its early
and there is a
years.
relation.
Yep, there is. So Greg and I kind of helped Julie and Christina, who now own and operate that company. We kind of gave them some initial thoughts and ideas of the best way to grow that business. And they both do a wonderful job. They're great at what they do, and they do a lot of more average price point homes. So if you're selling a home at an average price point, Anchor Staging, a great one to look up. Both of them are on social media if you just want to search their names. I think they both have websites.
Do a great job.
They both do a great job.
And before we switch from real estate to racing, though, one more thing that just came to my mind, Josh, as I was looking around our office. When you do vacate the house and everything, you pull everything out and you still have those dents in the carpet where your couch was. Great old trick, again, from a veteran real estate agent. Take a cloth, pillowcase, something of the like. Take a warm iron, roll it over there. Whoop, squeezes up the thing. No more dent in your carpet.
Really? Yep. I never heard that.
Great
Learn
trick.
Something new every day.
Learned it here.
I love that. Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, cool. Well, I mean, that's all good stuff, and hopefully, as I continue to show my buyers houses, I'll actually be out with them again this afternoon, looking at some more homes. And hopefully we have a little bit better luck looking at some homes that are a little better staged and ready to sell. All right, John, so talking about, some staging and selling, man, we had some serious selling going on over this weekend. I think that the cool thing in regards to the NASCAR deal, one thing, and we'll kind of break down all three of these races from Homestead, Miami, but one thing to note overall, interestingly, a first-time winner in all three series.
Which is cool.
Which I thought was really cool. And, I always hate to use the word underdog because, in my opinion, it's hard to really have an underdog in the championship 4, but there always has to be. So all three of them, kind of the underdog,
Yep.
and all three of them ends up winning.
Yeah.
So how cool is that? I mean,
Yeah, great stories. So take a quick break, talk about Duckworths, and come back and talk racing.
sounds good. Let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Duckworths Grill and Tap House is your neighborhood restaurant. Good food, good friends, a huge selection of craft beers on tap, not to mention the weekly and daily food specials. 5 locations in the Charlotte metro area. Make sure to go down and check out your local Duckworths. It's one of the greatest weekends out of the year in NASCAR. It's the Triple Header Champions Weekend in Homestead, Miami, Florida. And this time around, Josh, there's been some predictable finishes throughout the years and some that are kind of lackluster and things you expected to see. This time around was pretty much the opposite.
It was. I mean, even you and I have talked on this show multiple times throughout the playoffs who we expect,
Yeah.
Who's going to be there. Obviously, in the Cup Series, it's been all the talk about the big three.
Yep.
But yeah, all 3 series kind of like we mentioned earlier, kind of the underdog or the one that you would least expect coming through. And I think the first time since this format that in all 3 series, the champion won the race.
Yeah,
so that's happened
exactly.
in Cup. That's been that way in Cup.
Yeah, never before.
Usually not in the Truck Series or the Xfinity Series.
Yeah. So if I had to predict, I would have said that Johnny Sauter was going to win the Trucks. I would have said that Christopher Bell was going to win the Xfinity. And I would have said that Kyle Busch was going to win the Cup Series. Guess what? None of the 3 happened.
yeah. And I would have been with you on Trucks and Xfinity. I would have said Kevin Harvick would have won
You thought Harvick?
the Cup championship just because I think he's performed at a dominant level.
Yeah. They've been amazing.
Yeah, and like you said, none of them happened. Instead, we have first-time champions in all 3 series, which I thought was super cool. So kind of starting with the Truck Series race Friday night under the lights at Homestead. I mean, I think that's a phenomenal race, a great event. And
the race was fantastic in and of itself. That was a race, but the story behind it, Brett Moffitt and Hattori Racing, they spent the majority of this season just trying to find sponsorship. If they don't go out and win Atlanta, they probably don't continue for the rest of the year, but they did, and there was 5 total wins for them, the biggest coming, of course, in the final race of the season. Well, that made 6 for them, 6 wins, and they had 5 going in, and this was a team that Scott Zipadelli's a crew chief, and these guys did not have a lot of funding. Their owner is a Japanese businessman that just loves racing, that was trying to hold this thing together with 8 employees as opposed to going up against people who got 22, 25 employees. But it just goes to show you, Josh, I would rather have 8 great people than 22 mediocre people, and they turned that into a championship.
Yeah.
Cool story.
It is a cool story, and it's a story that NASCAR needs, I think, because, not often is it that we get those stories.
Yeah.
As the sport has continued to grow and grow and grow, it's been dominated by these powerhouse teams. And I think it's really cool to see Hattori Racing come in and pull off what they were able to pull off. Like you said, extremely underfunded, 8 or 10 full-time employees.
It's what racing's all about.
Few times throughout the season, not even sure if they could make it to the next race.
And they did.
And they did. They continued to grind and dig as deep as they could to find every dollar they could to get to the racetrack.
And we're still competitive.
Still competitive every week, but one thing interesting that I did, take away from Brett Moffitt's win, 5 wins previous to that, but I don't know about all 5 of them, but I know 3 or 4 of them, he only led like the last lap or 2.
Yeah. Yep.
Differently in Homestead, Brett Moffitt, competitive the whole weekend, or, the whole race, leads a lot of laps. We hadn't seen that side of Brett Moffitt all year. We've seen Brett Moffitt stay 5th to 10th. Somehow we get down to the last final laps of the race, and he's there digging, fighting for a win. Homestead a little different. Ran up front all day, led a lot of laps, competitive truck the whole evening.
Led the right lap.
And most importantly, led the right lap to become, a champion.
Yeah, and just by the way, Brett, Freddie Mercury just called. He wants his mustache back.
Did you see him ask him? They asked him about that in the post race. What are you doing with the mustache? And he said, "I think it's time for the mustache to go."
And I agree.
I agree too. Yeah, I agree too. But overall, cool story. And Brett Moffitt, no newcomer to NASCAR.
Yeah,
I mean, Brett's been around for a lot of years. He's Cup Series with Michael Waltrip Racing. He had ran I think Xfinity with Michael Waltrip Racing. So been around for a while, but first full-time truck series.
Yeah, first full-time truck series, and doesn't know what he's going to do next year.
Yeah, don't know what he's going to do. Don't know what that team's going to do.
Yeah.
So kind of all up in the air, but
still, he's got that championship. No one can take that away.
Nobody can take that away.
And
a shout out, to Noah Gregson, to Justin Haley, to Johnny Sauter.
Yeah.
I mean, those people all have phenomenal seasons. Nothing to be overly depressed about. I mean, they all had great seasons and did great things throughout the year. And I look, forward to all three of those.
Those are names you're going to hear still.
Yeah.
Sauter's going to be around for a while.
Sauter's going to be around. Justin Haley's going to run
they're
the
young
Truck
guys.
Series again. He's a young guy. Noah obviously moving up to run the Xfinity Series. So man, I think you're going to continue to hear those names, and they had great seasons. But Brett Moffitt stole the show.
Yep. So that was the first champion we crowned.
Yeah.
Then we go on to Saturday. Had to say goodbye to Elliott Sadler. He ran his last. He wasn't in the championship 4, unfortunately, but awesome dude, Elliott. Have fun in your next chapter. I know you're gonna.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool for him to, the guy has had just a phenomenal racing career.
Yep, won on all 3 levels.
Won on all 3 levels, and the things that he's done for the sport, the spokesman that he's been in the media for the sport. I mean, I think he's really grown the sport, in ways that the average person probably doesn't recognize. I mean, I think he's a stand-up guy. We'll certainly miss him.
And trivia question for you. Elliott Sadler holds the South Boston Speedway record for eating bologna burgers. In one sitting, he ate 16 bologna burgers. Here's a question. Do you know why he ate 16 bologna burgers?
I don't know why, and I don't know that I want to know why, but go ahead and tell me anyway.
His brother Hermie was driving a car number 16 out there, and he was there to watch Hermie race.
So he ate 16.
So he ate 16 bologna burgers sitting there Indian style on the hill.
Was he challenged to do this, or
no.
Was this just free will?
Just free will, but it's a fact. Elliott Sadler holds that record.
Hungry, need a snack, so I'm going to have 16 bologna burgers.
So I'm telling you, winning on the Cup Series is nothing compared to holding the record for 16 bologna burgers at South Boston Speedway.
Yeah. Elliott has probably got some really cool stories, that being one
awesome
of them.
Dude.
Awesome guy. I mean, I know he used to be, or continues to be really close with Dale Earnhardt Jr., and I've heard those two get together and tell some stories of their racing past, and just a good group
fun.
Of people, and he's a good dude. So, Elliott, we will miss you. I'm sure we'll see you around at the racetrack. I'm sure you'll continue to come to close races and hang out and see all your friends. But, yeah, man, so talking Xfinity, Tyler Reddick obviously comes in, steals the show. Now, that was one that I tell you, talking the Truck Series or the Cup Series, I think that all 4 championship drivers, while there were arguments to be made on why some probably had a better chance than others. I think all 4 of them in both the Truck Series and the Cup Series had, legitimate arguing points as to why they should be the champion. For me, I struggled to find that with Tyler Reddick.
Yeah.
Going in. I mean, I thought, I didn't want to write the guy off, but I thought, hey, he has not had the year.
Yeah, has not had the year these other guys
have. He won the opening race at Daytona. By probably the closest margin, over Elliott Sadler, I believe it was, almost ever.
Yeah, and again, that's Daytona. Those races are always somewhat anomalies. Yeah, it's a win, but it's different as how you're going to perform on the other tracks.
Yeah. And I mean, not taking anything away from Tyler. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve to be there.
Yeah.
But I thought just out of the 4, that was my hardest one to pinpoint. Here is why I think he's going to be the champion. Yeah. But gosh dang, if he didn't prove me wrong and prove us all wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, he went out there and not only did he show he had speed throughout the whole night, he did it in the most challenging way by running the wall.
Yeah.
All night long. Bouncing the car off the wall, the right rear off the wall.
Yep. And interesting,
times.
If you know the rules, you can play the game. And now you couldn't, in the trucks or the Cup race, you couldn't do what Tyler did because they got that composite body on the Xfinity car.
Yep.
And because of the composite body, you could whack it. So he figured out what he could do, and he whacked the car into the wall and drove that way, and that was the fast way around the track. And then congratulations for innovation and being smart.
Yeah. No, and that's absolutely right. You can't do that in the other series, and he certainly was able to and knew that. So pretty cool. So I found it interesting. Tyler Reddick, his 3rd career win in the
Yep.
Xfinity Series at Homestead.
At
Second,
the right time.
Yeah, just right time, right place, man.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, he earned it.
Yeah.
I mean, he earned it. He did it the hard way. I thought it was super cool. Second consecutive win for Junior Motorsports.
Yeah.
With not Bowman, Byron.
Byron, yeah.
Winning in 2017. So real cool for Junior Motorsports.
Yep, good story.
Yeah. So overall, I thought it was a good race, and it was cool to see Tyler win. And then yesterday,
And then the big boys.
yeah, I mean, gosh dang, what a race that was, and I don't think each person, well, maybe minus Kyle Busch,
Yeah.
the one that possibly was picked to be the favorite. I mean, certainly in your eyes was the favorite. In my eyes,
I thought he was. Yeah, I thought he was.
Was a very close second to Kevin Harvick. Kyle never really showed the speed all night long.
No, and they had two pit miscues.
They did.
That weren't terrible. I mean, the one was the guy, he fumbled one lug nut, and it just goes to show you. I mean, if you didn't believe before going into yesterday's Cup race that this was a team sport, you need to go back and look at that. This is a team sport. And so the front tire changer, I don't know his name. It's probably good because I don't want to call him out. Fumbles the one lug nut, gets it back on there, but that was costly enough. It cost a couple positions on the racetrack.
Yeah.
Then, same dude gets his hose caught in the lip of the car, which...
Yeah, the air hose stuck under the splitter, which we've seen done a lot of times this year. It happens.
But when you're in a championship run with three other dudes, you
just can't. And,
you can't
I mean, even with those pit road miscues, it's still hard for me to think that cost Kyle Busch a race. They just didn't have the car to win. I mean, point blank, they just didn't. I think they missed the setup a little bit.
Yeah.
And that happens. It happens to all of them.
That's why it's Major League Auto Racing.
When it happens on the championship race,
Yeah.
But I mean, he just didn't. They just didn't have it. And he even said in the post-race interview, when he found that caution there, they got that caution at the end. Pit strategy was perfect.
Yep.
He was the only one left out there that hadn't pitted. I think him and Matt Kenseth.
Yep.
So, I mean, a couple laps from having to pit, he catches a lucky break with the caution. Restarts first. His pit crew that time did a phenomenal job.
Yep.
Got him right out in the lead. And he even said, I thought I could maybe hold him off for a lap or two.
Uh-huh.
But he said, "Man, I couldn't even hold him off for down the backstretch."
Exactly.
So he just didn't quite have the car. But the other three all at times showed great speed. Harvick led a lot of the race in the beginning. Truex showed a lot of long run speed throughout the night. Logano all day long, the best on short runs.
Yep.
Nobody closer. So I think when that caution came out there towards the end, I think 20 laps to go, restarted with 15 to go. All four championship contenders running 1 through 4. I thought, wow, this is Logano's race to lose here because he has shown the best short run speed all day long, and he continued to show that short run speed. And I think he won the race by a 2-second margin or something over Truex.
Yeah, and the thing going into that race, you knew it was going to be a competitive 4 because we've never under this format had the total wins among the 4. I believe it was 22. That's the most wins amongst those championship 4 that we've ever had. So the guys who won the most races during the season were in the championship 4. It's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And boy, how many times were they running 1, 2, 3, 4?
I think
throughout the race.
Did they finish 1, 2, 3, 4? If they didn't,
almost.
Kyle Busch might have been 5th, I think. But
yeah,
I mean they
so as close as you can.
Yeah, about as close as you can get.
And then it's 2-second advantage for Joey, so that wasn't any nail biter, but it was just so much fun to see him and see how excited he is because Joey, if you remember, Joey didn't really fare that well in that number 20 car at Joe Gibbs Racing. I mean, he won, but it just didn't seem like they never really embraced each other as a team. He was really young when he went into the thing.
Yeah.
And even admitted himself he was probably too young for it. But what are you going to do? Say no to the 20 car in Joe Gibbs Racing? He's got to do it. And so he was able, at the time we thought he was just going to go run the Xfinity car for Gibbs. And then all of a sudden this deal came out of nowhere with Roger Penske. And then, just the rest is history. It just clicked. It just worked.
Yeah. I think that's why he said he named his foundation Second Chance or whatever it is there because that he really does feel like Penske gave him that second opportunity.
Second chance,
that and it's people
too often in life we don't get a second chance,
right, and he did, and boy has he taken advantage of it, just to go out there and do what he did yesterday, puts his name and within the greatest of athletes.
Only 33 guys over the 70-year history of Cup racing, of NASCAR's top series. 70 years, only 32 dudes had done it before. Now 33 guys are among that small fraternity.
Of how many?
Joey's
I mean, it has to be hundreds, thousands of
thousands
drivers.
of guys have driven.
You know, and at that level, and 33 now with 33. Joey can say they've won a championship, which I think is really cool.
With Gordon, Johnson, Petty, Earnhardt.
Yeah,
the names, Labonte, names go on.
Absolutely, you know, I mean,
champions.
there's a lot of them, and
Two Bushes.
He can put his name right there in the record books with them. You know, so I think that's super cool. Also, pretty cool to note that that's Ford's first driver championship since 2004 with Kurt Busch.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's been a lot of years since Ford's been able to get in that championship, back into that championship form. So pretty cool to see Joey be able to bring Ford back to the championship stage with his first championship. I thought that was really cool. I also seen Joey with that win yesterday, 52 total wins amongst all three series. National series, puts him 20th all time on the leaderboard for the most wins when you add all three national series together. So,
which Kyle Petty is okay to add all three together. All right,
absolutely it is. Yeah. So overall, man, second Cup Series win for Penske Racing with Keselowski won it in 12 in a Dodge.
Love to see it for the captain.
Yeah, super good guy. So that's really cool to see him back on the championship stage. So I mean, overall, man, I think you couldn't have scripted it any better.
Yeah, fun weekend.
I think
another season gone.
Another season gone, man. 2018 in the books.
Yep.
But man, a lot of memorable moments, a lot of cool things, and
See what 18 years of NASCAR does to you.
Yeah, three new champions, which is to me one of the big takeaways. So, John, let's take another quick break.
Okay. Do some
from our
questions.
sponsor, Anchor Real Estate. We're going to come back. We got several viewer questions we want to go through. Spend a little bit of time answering those, and then we will go clear to close on Season 1, Episode 11 of Racing to Real Estate. We'll be right back. Anchor Real Estate is your boutique real estate firm located in Mooresville, North Carolina. We specialize in the Lake Norman area. Whether you are buying or selling, our innovation through communication will get you results. That's Anchor Real Estate in Mooresville, North Carolina. Make sure you follow us on social media. Welcome back, everybody. Racing to Real Estate. Josh Tucker, co-host John Roberts. We got a bunch of fan questions to go through. But John, before we dig in, let's just quickly remind everybody how they can get a hold of us, how they follow along, and where they watch our show at. So you can watch the show on YouTube and on iTunes. It comes on every Tuesday afternoon, evening, around 6 o'clock. And they can engage with us. They can follow along on social media. We're on Instagram. We're on Twitter. We are on Facebook.
We're easy to find.
We are very easy to find. So follow along, like those pages, and you can send us questions or comment on any of our posts. You can send us questions through direct message on any of those platforms. And you can also email us at racing2realestate@gmail.com.
And nothing's off limits.
Nothing is off limits. Interestingly, John, this first series or season so far, the email has been the most popular form of contact.
Which is good. People are old school like me.
Yeah. And I would have guessed that to be the other way around. I would much rather engage on social media than email usually, but we continue to get a lot of emails. So let's dive into some of these questions here. Number one, we got Debbie from Knoxville, Tennessee. She says, I see a piece of tape or a colored stripe on the steering wheels of all the race cars. What is it for?
It is for indexing, is what they call it. When you index the steering wheel, you have a very visible piece of tape. So if a car is pulling one way or another, you have a reference point. If all you got is just black foam around the steering wheel, you'd never really have any reference point as to what your car is doing. And also, big help if you wrecked.
Yeah,
you could see if the toe is off. It's a reference.
Toe is off. Another big reason why we started doing that back in the day was so drivers always knew where straight up was.
Yeah.
Right. So every driver likes their wheel on the quick release hub for the steering wheel clasps onto in a little different angle or location. Mm-hmm. But they know, however they put that wheel on there, the tape mark on the steering wheel is always straight up. So that's straight up and down, and that they know that their wheel is straight up and down at that point. Also very important on pit stops.
Yep.
So a driver knows exactly where to hold the wheel. They always want the tape mark straight up on a pit stop so that the front wheels are pointing straight, so that makes it easier for the tire carriers to get the wheels in and out of the fender.
Yeah, if you didn't know and you were tilted, not only is it a hard to get the wheels on, but then when you go to take off, you're going that way.
Yeah, and you'll see, Debbie, a lot of the times now drivers will have 2 tape marks on their steering wheels, and we started doing that back in the middle 2000s with Carl Edwards and Jamie McMurray and a lot of those guys, where the first tape mark was one color, and that would be straight up if you were sitting still. So on a pit stop, you would have your wheel straight up on the white tape mark, and then we might have a pink or an orange tape mark, and that would be straight up on the straightaway of the racetrack. So with the camber and the caster and the toe and all the front end settings that these drivers run, straight up when you're sitting still is not straight up when you're going 200 mile an hour down the straightaway. Yeah. So the driver would have 2 different reference points there. But that is the answer, Debbie. Hopefully that helped. If you need further clarification, send us another email. Okay, Tim from Lexington, Kentucky. How many mechanics do the Cup cars usually have working on the cars over the weekend?
I don't know that, Josh. Do you know? I hope you know, because I don't know that.
I do know, unless it's changed. I've been out of the sport since 2012, and I know a couple of years ago, I think NASCAR started mandating the number of hard cards for mechanics and people like that. And now, when I go to the races, interestingly, I see on every fire suit, or on every crew shirt that the crew guys wear, they're assigned a number. So like there's a RC3 and an RC5 and an RC. So RC is road crew. And then there's a PC, which is pit crew. Yeah. So NASCAR kind of has limited the number of people. When I left the sport in 2012, it kind of broke down like this. We had, and you asked specifically mechanics. So I'm taking out the crew chief and the engineers. So teams now, I think minimum, those teams have 2 engineers. Some of them have 3 or 4 that travel. But take away the crew chief and the engineers, you got a car chief, you got a front end mechanic, you got an underneath mechanic that typically handled everything under the rear of the car. You've got an interior guy, you've got an engine tuner, you got a shock specialist, and you have a tire specialist. So 7 people, including the car chief, was kind of the normal MO back 2012 and prior. I don't know if that's changed much today. I wouldn't imagine that it has, though. But that is how we used to do it.
Yeah, because they're trying, and it's NASCAR's purpose is because the owners have asked, and I don't really want to say complain about it, but they're trying to keep costs down. Yeah. And if you are mandated to have fewer people at a racetrack, then it levels the playing field because the big teams could afford to take 12 dudes.
Right.
Small teams, then they can only afford to take 7 people, and therefore they're at a big disadvantage. So it's a limit for fairness and cost.
Yep, absolutely. But good question, Tim, and hopefully that helps. Let's see, Kevin from Fort Wayne, Indiana, my hometown stomping grounds over there. Yeah, he says, Josh, what was your favorite and least favorite racetrack when you were working in NASCAR, and why? Well, Kevin, that's a great question. So let's start with my least favorite. Ironically, my least favorite compared to most fans is probably polar opposites. My least favorite racetrack when I was working in the series was Bristol.
That's what I knew you were going to say.
Above and beyond, there isn't even a close second.
There's no room.
There's no room the whole weekend. You have to set up pit road, take pit road down on Friday for practice. You got to set it back up on Saturday to practice, take everything back down. You got to load your cars in the hauler every night. There's no garages. You're working on pit road. It's very loud. You're in a dome.
Yep.
And there's trucks or Xfinity cars going on the racetrack all the time when you're trying to work. You got to wear your radios all day long because you can't hear anything. So the only way to communicate with your team members is through radio. Just,
the fans love it.
Yeah, the fans love it. And come race time, from the time the green flag waved, Bristol, one of my favorite racetracks.
Yeah.
I love going there. I love the race. But leading up to that was probably my least favorite. My favorite, probably Texas.
Okay.
I love that. I love the area there, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. The racetrack is really nice. The garage area is clean. And just, it was a good environment. For people to work with, a lot of cool stuff in the infield at that racetrack. I always loved going there. It was one of my favorites, but there's a lot of them. Hard to pick one, but Texas definitely ranks up there at the top.
Phoenix was mine.
Yeah, Phoenix. And I haven't been to the new Phoenix, but I bet you the new Phoenix is actually super nice. But Kevin, I appreciate the question. Michelle from Charleston, South Carolina asks, do you think the current points system has made it too hard for the average or the new fan to follow along and understand?
I think it's a little difficult. I think it's a little difficult to grasp. We hear it a lot. If you actually take some time to look at it, NASCAR didn't just wake up and say, we're going to do this. It was based on, this is like when they first started taking 10 races and 10 drivers. That was based on the fact that with 10 races to go in the season, there were only 10 on average. There were 10 drivers that were within mathematical striking distance.
Yeah.
So when they put this stuff together, it's to make for entertainment for the fans. Which, okay, stage points and playoff points, they're a little difficult to understand at first, but if you really sit down and look at them, and we don't really have time to completely explain right now, but you got a bucket of points that you can carry with you throughout the playoffs, and if you accumulate them, it's an advantage. So could we simplify it? Yes. Should we? No, I don't think. As long as we got one, we need to stick with it.
Yeah, and I kind of agree. It is difficult. It's not as difficult for you or I because we're in the sport. We
look at it all the time.
We're probably a little more than an average fan, but I do agree that I think it is difficult for some to follow. I think the difference between stage points and playoff points
little confusing
can get a little confusing. But I also agree. Is it something that we need to fix? Probably not. I think that the system works. There's reasons they put those points, into play. And I think it works, but can be a little difficult to understand.
Yeah, good question.
Good question, Michelle. Appreciate it. Let's see. Gavin from right here in Charlotte, North Carolina, has a question for you, John. He says, John, I seen on your Twitter that yesterday was your last day to host the Race Day show on Fox Sports. What's next?
Well, I wish I knew what was next. I don't really know exactly broadcast-wise what's next. I know for sure we're still going to be digging here hard at Anchor Real Estate, but I was lucky enough to get to do basically my dream job for 18 years. And, you just, in corporate America, you just get somebody sometimes from another part of the country that just calls up and he doesn't really know you, but just says, hey, guess what, man, you're done. We don't need you around here anymore. And so yesterday was the last day, and so we just put something out on Twitter and Facebook to say thank you to the fans. And I tell you, Josh, I was reading the comments all night last night, and I just could not have been more appreciative and more overwhelmed at what some people were saying.
Yep.
And some people I didn't know, some people I knew and worked with over the years. I still would love to be involved in NASCAR broadcasting in some way, shape, or form. I don't know if it's going to happen, but if not, man, what a great run. There's not too many people that can say for 18 years they got to do exactly what they wanted and make a living at it. So thank you, race fans. Thank you, Fox. And I hope we can continue.
Yeah, hopefully.
And before I get emotional, we probably should take the next question.
So thank you, John, for everything you've done on Fox Sports for the sport. And, man, we hope that we get to continue to watch you on TV some way, shape, or form down the road.
So.
Okay, and next we have got Don and Amy emailed in from Concord, New Hampshire. That's not Concord.
That's Concord.
Concord, yes.
Yeah, up there. It's Concord.
Sorry, Don and Amy. It is Concord, New Hampshire. We have Concord,
New York,
here in
North Carolina.
North Carolina. You have Concord up there, spelled the same though. Okay, so Don and Amy asks, we are considering moving south to get away from the crazy winters here in Concord. How are the winters usually in the LKN area?
LKN, it's fantastic. You have one scheduled snowstorm, one scheduled ice storm. People buy bread and milk for each one, but you're never stuck with more than one day without bread and milk. If you didn't go get the bread and milk, you'd be fine for about a day. It usually melts and goes away. And the winters are very kind and gentle here.
Yeah, they are. It's one of the big reasons I moved here for NASCAR, obviously, in 2002, but one thing I quickly appreciated after moving here was that the winters are not near as harsh. I'm from
climate's great.
Upper Indiana, upstate Indiana, and pretty close to the Great Lakes, and we get some harsh winters up there, Don and Amy. And since I've been down here, another thing I love about our climate here is that we do have a sense of four seasons.
Yeah.
Our falls are beautiful. Our trees, the leaves on the trees change colors.
Yep.
This time of year, it is gorgeous here. It's in the the low to mid 60s today.
Yep.
So
and then you get cold.
Yeah, and you do get cold in December, January. You can have a once a year snowstorm like you mentioned, or an ice storm. It usually comes and lasts a day or two.
It's like it's scheduled,
and it goes away. The city does shut down over those storms.
Oh yeah.
We're not prepared to remove snow.
So you
So
go.
when we do get
take a
an
day
inch
off.
or two, nothing happens. Everything closes down. But
Go get you some beer and sit in your house and drink it for a day.
absolutely, and watch reruns of NASCAR races is a great way to do it.
That's our suggestion.
Yeah. So Don and Amy, we
Climate's
would
great.
welcome you to move here to the Lake Norman area. We love having you guys come down.
And we know a fantastic real estate company that could relocate you. So
We do.
Yeah, it's Anchor, by the way.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you, Don and Amy, for the question. We hope that we've convinced you to move to Lake Norman or anywhere in the Charlotte area. We love it here. Okay, a couple more questions quickly. Jonathan from right here in Mooresville. Do you know what they are building in Mooresville at the corner of Langtree and Alcove?
Langtree and Alcove.
Corner of Langtree and Alcove. So that's exit 31. here
Yeah,
in
31
Mooresville.
down. It's a waterfront condos.
No, yep. So that's right off of Alcove, just north of Langtree. They are building some waterfront
Yep.
apartments. I don't believe they're
They're
going to be
apartments.
condos.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think
that's right,
They're
they're
gonna be apartments. And then right on the corner, right there at the roundabout, I guess it would be the northwest corner of the roundabout. They are building two brand new hotels there.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be Marriott brand. I don't remember the actual name.
Yeah, and there's a severe lack of hotels in that area.
Yeah.
You have to
And
go one
really
way
in
or
all of
another.
Mooresville, there's a lack of hotels, but that is what they are building there. They have broke ground.
Yep. It looks cool. When you do drive by there, where you see where they broke ground, they're looking at a nice part of the lake, and it's
Absolutely,
an awesome
yeah.
location.
Yeah, so it's a great location and right off the interstate. But yeah, two new hotels there, Jonathan. And I don't recall the brands of the hotels or the names, but they will be nice hotels. So we're looking forward to that. The growth in Mooresville has been great.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
And that exit 31 Langtree area is just booming. So great area. Final question, Natalie from Cleveland, North Carolina. Do you know what the most expensive home on Lake Norman is?
I believe it is the home now. Correct me if I'm wrong. Owned by Mr. Denny Hamlin.
Yeah, I would say.
I'd have to say that.
Yeah, and it's hard, Natalie, to gauge the most expensive home because it's all hearsay until it sells, right? So I think that John is probably correct from what we have heard.
From what we know.
Denny Hamlin has invested a substantial amount of money into his home that was completed last year. I think it was in 2017. There are certainly a couple of other large
spectacular
estate homes on the lake that are probably in the $15 to $20 million investment range, which is probably pretty similar to Denny's, would be my guess. I think in terms of the most expensive that we can certify or say for sure is a resale that happened back in, I think, 2006 or 7 on the west end of the lake in Denver, North Carolina. A home resold over there for, I think, $7.8 million. And I think in terms of resale or a public record that we can say with certainty that this home sold on Lake Norman for X amount of dollars, to my knowledge, that is $7.8 million on the west side of the lake in Denver, owned by a NASCAR driver.
Yeah.
So that's it. Those are the questions. Thank all of you for sending in your questions, most of them via email. Once again, the email address, racing2realestate@gmail.com, or engage with us on social media, ask us questions there. John, let's go clear to close.
When you say clear to close, it's one of the nicest things we get to hear, and I think I think my phone just buzzed with a real clear to close, so I'm really happy about that happening this week. That's
that is
cool.
nice, yeah.
But also we like to use this time to give a little bit of opinion, a little bit of editorial. I just want to tell everybody going into the holiday season, Thanksgiving and Christmas time coming up, just remember that Thanksgiving is not about really shopping for all
Black
this
Friday
and it's about getting family together and giving thanks. And same thing with Christmas. Let's remember the reason for these seasons, and don't get mad at the guy who takes your parking place. Don't get mad at the guy who cuts you off on the road because there's too much traffic. Let's remember we're all in this together, and the reason for the season is family, reflection, and fun.
Yeah, no, good points there, John. And I know it can get frustrating out on the roads this time of year and in parking lots.
Don't honk at me, okay?
Yeah, let's all try to keep our cool and enjoy the holidays. So just a couple of key dates for me quickly. Obviously, Thanksgiving is Thursday. I'll be doing kind of a Friendsgiving. All my family's up in Indiana, and unfortunately, I don't get to make the trip up there for Thanksgiving usually, and I won't this year. So me and a bunch of friends that are kind of in the same boat all came down here to be involved in NASCAR. We don't have a lot of family down here, so we do a Friendsgiving. We all either get together at a local restaurant or at one of our houses and watch a lot of football and eat a lot of dinner. So that is this Thursday. And quickly, NASCAR Cup Series award ceremonies in Las Vegas is a week from this Thursday, so the week after Thanksgiving. That's November 29th. That is in Las Vegas at the Wynn Hotel. So that'll be fun to watch on television. And then the NASCAR Xfinity Series and Camping World Truck Series ceremonies are held right here in Charlotte at the Charlotte Convention Center. That's a couple weeks away, December 7th and 8th. So a few things to look forward there to over the off season with NASCAR. Folks, we appreciate you watching Racing to Real Estate Season 1, Episode 11. We will be back next week with a very special guest to close out our Season 1. We hope you have enjoyed it. And thank you. Have a great Thanksgiving and happy holidays.